Hello and welcome to Coffee and Bonsai with Tom. Today we're going to look at my Dwarf Jade. Specifically, we're going to repot it. This is my broom style Portulacaria Afra. So I hadn't actually planned on repotting this, but I was recently on vacation, and I had set up, I'm just taking off the wire here to get the tree out of the pot, my guy wires. I had set up an automated watering system, and I don't know if I set the schedule incorrectly or if something malfunctioned or stuck open. But anyway, all the trees that I had on the system were quite overwatered, I could tell, because when I got back there was a lot less water in the reservoir than I expected, and then the trees were wet, and it was just quite obvious that something had gone sideways there. So I was just kind of waiting, but then I noticed some of the leaves on several of the trees were kind of wrinkly. So I figured, let's get in there and see what's going on. So I took off the guy wires. I'm just going to wrap them around each other here, because I plan on putting them back on. I basically will just take the tree out of the pot, maybe do some minor root pruning. I'm not going to completely bare root it or wash the roots or anything like that, and then put it back in. I had hoped to do that midsummer with this tree and give it a different style of pot, and if it's healthy, then we'll go ahead and do that. But I definitely wanted to see, just do a good inspection of the tree at the moment to see what's going on. So I think I've got my wire set up here, and let's get this puppy out of the pot. Now it's probably pretty well in there. We'll cut the wires. Sometimes I wire them in, sometimes I don't, depending on what's going on with the tree. But this one had wire. I doubt I'm going to be able to pull it out of here without loosening it. I usually scrape off the soil. I used to use Osmocote. I've kind of switched from that, but you can see it just sits there, so it's kind of a good idea to scrape that off and put something else on top to make it look better anyhow if you look at the trees. But so I'll get rid of that, and let's see. Yeah, no, it's not going to come out of there. So use the trusty tweezers with the blade on the end, and just kind of convince those roots to let go of the side. You don't have to be too rough in this. You're basically, the roots literally sort of almost attach themselves to the side of the pot. So just trying to break that seal so you can get them comfortably out, but it can be difficult at times. So I usually just go around and then see what we've got now. A pot that's not straight on the edges is a bit tougher because the roots, you have to sort of really loosen them up to get it out, but this should come out fairly easily now that I've done that. Let's see. Yeah, it's going to wiggle right on out there, and there we go. Well, you can see we got a lot of roots. I don't see, I think they were probably moist for a bit too long, but it doesn't look like a huge problem here. But since I got it out, I may as well do a little pruning. I find like these trees really like to grow roots, and they seem to get more vigorous with a little bit of root pruning. So we will go ahead and, these roots aren't doing the tree any good in terms of progressing, so we'll just kind of get rid of them and put the tree back in the pot. So yeah, I'm just pulling out those wires, and then I kind of start just by using my hand to you know, inspect and tease it apart a little bit and see what we've got here. Then I usually move to a tool. But yeah, these, you know, they're quite dry now, but they're not falling apart. So I'll just take my gardening spoon and kind of loosen this stuff up a bit. Mostly in bonsai soil, so it's coming out pretty easily. I don't have to work too hard. Yeah, just, you know, you don't want to tear them, but you have to apply a bit of pressure to loosen it up. You know, just do a inspection of seeing what we got here. It looks, you know, these look okay. I'm not, I think we'll just go ahead with the plan of tightening it up a bit, checking it out, and potting it back in the same pot. Sometimes it's easier just to kind of use your thumb and kind of roll it down, especially if you have bonsai soil and it's really dry. It basically just flakes off, so you don't have to hit it with a chopstick or a rod too much. Although that helps too, to just kind of force it out. There's just a lot of loose particles just flying off this thing. And you know, I kind of want to get rid of all that loose stuff. And there is some old soil. When I initially potted this up, it was in a bonsai soil, but it wasn't a very good bonsai soil. So this is also an opportunity to get rid of some of that. So I'll kind of poke in there a bit and try to pull that out. I also eventually want to do some work on the nabari here, but I'm not going to do that now because the tree is a little stressed, so I want it to be, you know, robustly healthy before I do anything with that. Yeah, I think this will be just fine. Here's some of that soil I was talking about, so I'll just kind of gently try to push some of it out, and we'll replace it with fresh bonsai soil. You know, and you know, as you do more and more of this, you kind of get, you kind of go on autopilot, and you're just kind of poking and gently straightening it out, and I think that looks pretty good for now. Let's just trim some of this off. It's too long. I want to get it comfortably back into the pot it came out of. It's kind of a deep pot, so it has plenty. Had a little rock in my scissors there. It has plenty of room to grow. Yeah, the bottom's looking a little messy here, so I think we'll kind of just neaten everything up here a bit on the edges. Kind of small stuff that I don't see adding much, and some of these longer roots, just take them off. Look at the bottom here. Yeah, I think we'll just, you know, there's some bigger roots there, and I'd prefer them to have smaller roots and grow at the outside, so we'll just sort of flatten this out just a little bit. And this is where the chopstick is really essential, or root rake, or whatever you like to use, to really get in there and get the roots out from the soil so you can see them and then work with them. So I'll just flatten this out. As you can see, it's quite dry. Yeah, that's nice and flat. Top looks good. Yeah, so I think that's pretty close. So let's put the tree aside and get the pot ready. rid of all the old stuff. And yeah, I think we'll use, I've got some soil mixed up here that we can go ahead and use. So let me just get that. Yeah, so just do some last minute raking out here. Make sure I get rid of any old soil or any loose roots. And I think that looks pretty good. So let's check the pot. I think that'll be fine. All right, let's get some bonsai soil. I have some mixed up here. I'm not sure. It's mostly an inorganic mix. You know, I kind of don't get too caught up in what I'm using as long as it's mostly inorganic. You can see those fine particles. It's probably a good idea to wear a mask when you're doing this, although honestly I don't always do that. I think that looks pretty good. It's probably about how it was. I'm not too worried about the absolute front on this tree yet. It kind of looks similar from most angles. Check the side view, front view. I think that's pretty good. So we will put in more soil. I want it a little higher and kind of screw it down into the pot. And take another look at the side. Looks pretty good. And I kind of position the roots a bit. And taking that last look at it, and I think it's time to add the soil and work it in. I'm not going to show you my working it in. I kind of, I tend to try to do a slow, thorough job at that, but it's kind of boring to watch. So I'm just going to show a little bit of it. But, maybe I'll do a separate video showing how I do that. Yeah, you just want to work it in. It kind of helps the tree get very firmly set in the pot, and it also gets soil into any areas where you need it. Now here is a top dressing I kind of like to use. It's more of a, doesn't have any white in it, so you can't see perlite or whatnot, and I kind of use this for the first, the top inch or two of the soil because I just think it looks better. So I kind of put that in, spread it around, work it in a little bit, and then, keep adding it until you get a nice layer that's just a bit below the lip of your pot to help with watering and whatnot. But yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. I think we're pretty close here. Yeah, I think that's fine. Looks better when it's wet, but you can add any kind of top dressings you want. So I am going to put the guy wires back on because I do want to have, especially since the tree will probably grow a lot now that it'll be putting out new roots. So I'll put it under the pot and we will reattach those wires. This is a little tricky because the tree is not too firmly in there yet, but by the time I get all four down, it'll actually, serve the purpose of, stones or having wired it in there. It'll hold it in there, quite securely, and I won't really have to worry about it. But it is tough to kind of get it around the branch you want and wrap it in. So just, you got to take your time and not rush it. Sometimes I have to use the tweezers to get the wire where I want it, or the wire covering so I don't readily cut into the plant. But I think I got that on there now, and I'll just kind of bend it down, get it where I want it. Don't want to pull it down too heavily, just open it up a little, and I can always adjust this once the tree has grown some roots. You know, I mean, these guy wires are easily loosened and tightened, you know, so you can do that periodically. But I just want to get it relatively close for now. I think that looks pretty good for those ones. On the side, now I'll work on the front and the back. Gonna move my wire covering to protect the limb, the branch. And I usually just kind of put it where I want it and then kind of put the wire on. Yeah, so that's, you know, it's not, I didn't bring it down hugely, but I think that's enough for now. And finally to do the last one. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, I hope that, you know, I really just thought it was essential to get in there and see what's going on. And, you know, we've done a little bit of root pruning, and I think the tree will be quite happy for it. And we'll give it a spin here. I don't know if I have it exactly how I had it before, but I'm sort of allowing it. It's kind of in a grow out phase now anyway, before we do any more pruning on it. So I think, you know, we'll just let it recover, give it some good care. Maybe clean this wire up a little bit. And, you know, I think it's set up well for the future. Well, that's a wrap for today. I want to thank you for spending time with me, and enjoy the rest of your week. And stay tuned and watch how this tree progresses.